Welcome to my Hebrew channel, Miela Baraika, and today I'm looking at Ruth 1:16 and 17. In this portion of the scripture, it's one of the gems of Hebrew literature, and I was just reflecting on when I started my Hebrew studies, and it was 48 years ago, and I can remember the professor at that point saying, "Oh, look at this. This is Ruth 1, verse 16 and 17. And you can't use it for weddings." Oh, why not? Well, because it's the expression of a daughter-in-law and a mother-in-law. In other words, it's a different relationship. And so I, kind of took that to heart. And so for a few years, I wasn't performing weddings, but later on, got to the ministry. And when somebody invited me, "Pastor, would you officiate or would you preach at my wedding?" I'd take a look at this. And at first, I sort of shied away from it, still remembering the words of my professor. But later on, I said, "Oh, yes, I can use it because the principles that are expressed here really apply." Apply, yes, first of all, between daughter-in-law and mother-in-law. But these principles also operate very well between a bride and her fiance, her new husband. And so it's a gem of Hebrew literature. It's got great feeling. It's got great direction. It's got great structure. No wonder I invite you. Not just invite you. I just tell you it's a good idea to use this for wedding. If you aren't using it as the main text of your message to the couple, at least have somebody read it at some point during the time that you're celebrating the wedding. Because remember, the word kala, which in Hebrew is used for daughter-in-law, is also used for bride. So the principles apply the same for the bride and for the kala. And also, just remember, Ruth, what she says here in relationship to her mother-in-law, she entered that kind of relationship as well later on with Boaz. And so the same principles that were expressed here right at the start of the relationship that Ruth has with Naomi, that kind of those principles also carry through with the relationship she would later on have with Boaz. So it's a powerful message, and it's a message also with internal development. It has movement within it. Some of the verbs, of course, have moving verbs in it, but also it has direction, and it points us to someone at the end, the end of verse 17, points us to someone who can make it happen. Okay, and this is a very important principle of what Ruth is expressing here. She gets to mention somebody else in the formula. So let's stick with the study, and we're going to have something very interesting happening here in this particular passage. Let's look to Ruth 1, verse 16. Have your Bibles handy in a good standard translation. And 1 verse 16, we have Achare Yebim Tech. Then Siluk, Sof Pasuk, right here. And then we start out with Tomer, and she said. Okay, is this, yes, it is a good Milel accenting here. Tomer, and she said, Ruth, okay, Ruth. This is Ruth. Ruth said, okay. This then is a short speech, a short affirmation of what Ruth is in her heart and what she's thinking, what she wants to say to. At this point, she's just simply talking to Noemi. And then later on, when it was written down, Noemi probably shared this little speech to whoever had to write this down. But Tomer, Ruth, there's a dagish in the resh, and when I saw it, hey, that's a little unusual to have a dagish inside the resh. So I looked it up in my printed text, and it's gone. So this highly unusual feature of having a dagish inside a resh is the subsequent editors of the Bibles, of Hebrew Bibles, have dropped that off. It's not needed. Highly unusual, and they said, okay, forget it. Doesn't make any difference really at all. But in our our scribes stuck a dagish in for whatever reason. Okay? So wrote, maybe you always emphasize stuff a little bit. You give the letter a little more punch when you have a dagish. Wrote, okay, wrote. It's kind of like capitalizing the letter, I suppose. Okay, talking about Ruth. Al, this is negation, not. Tifagei, tifagei, tifagei. So this is second person, you. Okay, don't urge. Actually, the word tifagei is pech, is to punch. Okay, to clobber. Okay, to push. Okay, pech. This pech has pushed to it. Okay, tifagei. And we will see it again in the second chapter where Boaz tells tells Ruth, don't head out to another field where people might beat up on you. So that's actually there in the second chapter. This verb has actually more punch than it has here. There's a lot of punch to it though. Okay, so just think of it a peg to punch somebody. Okay, tifagei vi. Don't urge, don't punch on me. Now take a look here with the tau, and that's the second person then, the prefix verb form of the second person, so don't. Incidentally, prefix forms are used in imperatives of negation. Okay, imperatives of negation uses a prefix form to start out their verbs. So that's what you have here. Al tifagei bi, don't punch on me. I'll keep using the stronger version of the verb here. And this same tau for the second person, you, don't you punch on me. We see it carried through in the verbs that follow here. Telechni and telini. Okay, so these are two verbs to take a walk and to stay the night. And so second person prefixed taus are what set up the second person here. Reference here to Noemi. Okay? You don't urge me, don't beat on me. Okay, don't get don't get tough with me. Okay, tifagei bi. Le, okay, for, in order to. This is a lamada, preposition of purpose, in order to. Azavech, azvech, to abandon. Okay, this az is well-known root. Then when a husband will abandon his father and his mother, same over in Genesis chapter 2, same root there, to abandon, to leave behind, to abandon. We also see it in a very well-known passage, even in the New Testament. It's used on the cross. Eli, Eli, lama azavachtani, azav. Okay? Azav. Do not abandon me. Okay? Do not abandon. Do not abandon. This is a lamed. So when you have a verb followed by a lamed of purpose, then you'll have an infinitive. Okay, do not to abandon, and also another infinitive following right through. Lashuv, in order to return or to come after. Okay, lashuv, to come after. Me acharech. Okay. Now we've seen acharech already numerous times because Naomi has used it numerous times. Go after your sister-in-law. Go after your sister-in-law. Right? Go after this even. Yeah. In fact, it's right here. Acharech. Okay. Same acharech here. You have the acharech here. Okay. Going after. Arech. Okay. Go follow after. Okay. And it's prefixed here with a preposition of me, from after you. Okay. From after you. So it's actually stacked prepositions. Okay. Me acharech. Merach. Me. Okay. The pronunciation. Me aharach. Me aharach. 1, 2, 3. Open syllables. Me aharach. And do not from behind or from after. Me acharech. From after you. Ki. Okay. There's an amma. So this this chops up you're looking at the whole passage, the whole verse, and this one chops it in half right here. This is the logical division of the verse right here, the atna. So from after you, and then here's the reasoning then given from why she should stop pushing on Ruth. And this is a profession of faith. This is, wow, this is very, very powerful stuff, very good stuff, very, very structured. And so and it gives because, okay? Now, a reason given, okay? Because. El Asher, from where, or to where, Telechi, okay, you go, you, and the root here is halach, okay, to walk, where you walk, okay, Elech, okay. Now, it is English translations just use a very simplified approach to this verb right here. Where you go, I go, okay, got it, okay. But halach means not just walking along, but how you walk. In other words, whatever your derech, your path, is something also worth noting. In other words, where you go, I will go. Where you walk, I will walk. The way that you walk, in other words, in the way of, and we're getting to it towards at the end, we're going to have a mention of Jehovah. What is important to your walk will be important to my walk. Okay, so it isn't just going someplace, it's how you're going to do it. So, okay, so there's that comes from halach, okay, to walk, okay, telech, telechi, elech, and so here we have a beautiful counterpoint, a beautiful jump from so these are and I think in each case, no, here it is a three root, but in this case the hey is assimilated, but the root is still there, lamed kaf, and the lamed kaf is over here. So this is second person, you walk, elech, I walk, okay? You go, I go. The way you go, I go. In other words, your pathway is good enough for me, okay? Telechi, elech, okay? I'm going, telech, elech. And be'asher, and then in where, okay? So this is a preposition. Incidentally, an independent preposition in front of this asher, and this one's a prefix preposition. This one's joined in. Be, ba, asher, and in where, okay, and in where, tal, li, ni, and where you lodge. I find that the English translation word lodge is a good one. Okay, lodge. Okay, where you're going to lodge, I will lodge. This one's based actually on a well-known noun in Hebrew, Laila. Okay, lean. This is the verbal form then of being there for the night. Okay, lean. And we've already seen a version of this one when Naomi said, "Hey, if in this night, okay, in this night, I would be with a husband and have children." So it's already been purposed. We're finding out, and we'll find out really big time in the 3rd chapter, that staying the night is a big deal. Okay. Now we have to be very careful how we're going to translate this, because in many, at least in English, just simply staying the night means, yeah, you're just there once, okay? No. In Hebrew, staying the night is a sign of commitment, a sign of trust. There's a high level of trust to be able to stay the night with someone in, and this is what's probably already happened with Ruth and Noemi. And so staying the night is an indication of trust. It means that, hey, we have trust each other, not going to hurt each other, commitments to one another. And so in the Middle East, when you open your door to somebody and they stay inside your doorway, you have established a sense of protection, a sense of caring for that other person. You might not really like the other person, but you've established trust, both on the term of the host and the guest who stays there. There's a high trust level. So staying the night, tilacheni elech, and then I will stay the night, is an indication of a very high trust level. Very, very, very powerful here. Okay, where you lodge, I will lodge. We can lodge together, and we know we're not going to beat each other up, kill each other, or something like that. So, telacheni and elech, elin. Okay, so yeah, very powerful expression here. Now, in verbs, the person will be established via a prefixed. So we've seen it here: telech and elech, elin, alin. So this is second person. This one is first person. See it up here again. See it first of all, actually. Telehi, you, and elech, I. Okay. Now, getting into nouns, we're into a set of nouns here. In nouns, the person of who owns this noun, or yeah, it's a possessive suffix. So here, prefix establishes the person. Here, the suffix, the ending of the last syllable or the last letter establishes who owns what here. Okay, amech, your people, kaf. Okay, and ami, my people, your people, my people. No verb, no. It's just simply this is it, and this is Hebrew does this when it's like a predicate noun. You, amech, your people, my people. Your people are my people, or your people. Now we're looking to the future. So when we start in English, we're going to be we can do it. You know, amech, ami. Elechecha, Elahai. So you can do it just without verbs. You'd understand it, but in English, putting verbs in is going to make it sound better. Your people will be my people. Ve'elchaicha, Elahai, and your God. Okay, this is a plural, but we are referencing here the true God. And so when we have it, you got, oh, here, catch this, hold on, okay? Elohayich, your God, okay? Your God, Elohayich, Elohai, okay? It's a little bit tough catching. You have to take this, how you say it, this sedic, and stretch it across. In fact, I think the Rafe probably does that for us here. Okay, take this sedic, push it over here, because it's over here. You have a hatav sagot, but here you have nice sedic. Okay, Elohayech, your God. Okay, Elechai, my God. Your God, my God. Your God will be my God. Your God is my God. So. Again, a true profession of faith. Now, it's very apparent, very obvious that Ruth has lived long enough with Naomi to know what her faith life was like, prayers and testimony and things. She'd learned something of the Lord over there in Bethlehem, and now even in the fields of Moab, she's probably sharing her faith knowledge with her daughters-in-law. And so, yeah, whatever Ruth is expressing here, she has learned from Naomi. Now, Naomi, of course, became bitter in the end. It was going to accuse the Lord of a lot of things. But Ruth is thinking about it a little bit more clearly. And, yeah, it's a beautiful profession of faith. You know, your God, my God. And this, if you're going to use the passage in a wedding, is something that should be front and center. The bride and the groom, they must believe in the same God, and most certainly the God we know as Jehovah. So, and that will keep things on track. Big step forward in maintaining a stable relationship. Both of you believe in the same God. And then we get on to the next verse here, and this is verse 17. I forgot to mention that the last one just chopped off with a siluk, but here we're starting verse 17, And it's still the same thought sequence. In other words, be'asher, we've seen asher, el asher, be'asher, and then in where, and then now we're back to verbs, okay? And as I said, you're going to establish the personage or the person of the verb through the prefix, okay? Tamuti, you die, okay? And then where you die, we can keep it in the present, but at this we're of course looking towards the future here because it's still death is still ahead of them. So kesher, and then in where, okay, in where, tamuti, you die, amut, I die, okay. So probably because of the difference in age, Ruth would say, okay, Naomi's probably going to die first, and then we'll pay attention where she is, and then I will be there as well. So this is a very sound concept that when we go into a relationship, we do it, and as the marriage vows quite often say, until death do you part. And it comes from this, by the way, when you have a marriage vow that has until death do you part, this is where they get it, okay? Tamuti, and then where you die, amut, I die, okay? That's where I plan to die. I plan to be there. Where you die, I plan to be there also for my passing. Okay? Tamuti, amut, sham, and then there, okay? Ich haver, okay? I will be buried, okay? Now, with the whole sequence, it hasn't been tekhaver. This is tekhaver, ekaver. The author has said, well, we've got these principles established. We don't have to say where you are buried, I will be buried. You being buried is not there, but I being buried will certainly be there. Okay? I will be buried there. Kaver. Okay? And in ancient times, this was literally the case. In other words, the tombs of the time were cut tombs into rock, and they had places for the bodies to degrade into skeletons, and then the skeletons are all gathered together in one place. So literally what Ruth and is looking forward to with Naomi is at some point our bones will be gathered together into a common grave. So something, wow, very physical to look forward to. But high commitment, of course, personal commitment in that regard, willing to even share the same place in death. So kaver, to be buried, to be gathered together, your bones all gathered together. And now we enter into what we can call an oath sequence, okay? Ko is thus, so. Incidentally, ko, the kaf hey, is very easy to mix up with kaf chet, because ko, that would be power, but here it's just so, okay? And it's repeated here, ko, vaho, okay? So you have it here. This one does not have Rafe, this one does. This one has a dagish, this one doesn't, okay? So if it doesn't, this one probably has a Rafe to indicate it. So you can see a nice interplay of Rafe and dagish here. So, and so, and thus, okay? Ya'aseh Jehovah, okay? And so God will do, okay? God will do it. Jehovah will do it, okay? Jehovah will do it. And if you remember back in the Katif Kares sequence of the first chapter, the first time this sequence popped up, the Mashra said, we don't like the affirmative side of this. We want to make it a hortative. We want to drop this last syllable, okay? Az, may God make it do, okay? This one still has a cohortative punch to it because of the ko, okay? It's still got the same sense of what's happening, okay? May the Lord make it happen, okay? But the syllables, in other words, the Mashra hasn't pushed this one into a kare and has left it as may the Lord make it happen, okay? And this is a very sound concept of any kind of relationship. May the Lord make it happen, okay? And what Ruth is calling on down here, if I don't follow through on this, bad things will come from the Lord. So ko yasa, but also the Lord participates in what's happening, okay? with the Lord make it happen. Okay, Ko Yasa Jehovah Li to me. Okay, the Lord do this to me. Boom. And here we're looking for the power and for maybe some of the punishment from the Lord, but here we go. Yasha Yehovah Li to me. Vecho. Okay, this one's ko. This one's ko. Okay, and so and thus. Yosef will add on, okay, Yosef. This is, and we'll add in. The way to remember this one is just from the name Joseph, okay, added in. Joseph got his name because when Leah was giving birth, Rachel, of course, was not giving birth, and then later on, Rachel did give birth, and so the father was thrilled. He says, oh, the Lord has finally added to my family. And it means to be added, okay? Yoshif, may he add, okay? May the Jehovah add on, okay? Pile it on. If I'm not faithful, pile it on, okay? That happened to Joseph. In other words, in his life, things were piled on his life. Whoa, what a hard time he had, okay? So Yoshif. But here, may the Lord add in, may the Lord add to it, may the Lord look at it and put the pressure on, okay? Ko Yosef, ki, that. Now we've had Mavet, okay? We had Mut and Amut, and then here this one is these are verbs, okay? You die, I die. This one happens to be a noun, okay? Ki Hamavet, so that the death, okay? It has an article on the front here. A normal way of attaching an article with a pata and a dagesh and then following syllable. So ki mavet, that death, yefarid, will separate. Okay, so you got here you add, and this you will separate. Okay, this will chop apart here. Yefarid, that death will separate. Beni, between me, u benech, and between you. Okay, between me and between you. Okay, so the preposition is repeated here. Okay, beni u benech. Wow, like I said, this is a gem of Hebrew literature. So we have a lot of things happening, a lot of ways in which a daughter-in-law must commit to a mother-in-law, the way a bride must commit to her husband. And it's also a two-way street. In other words, whatever is said here of the bride with her groom, the groom also has to. It works. It has to work both ways. It can't just work one way. Marriages cannot just be one-sided. The other side has to be there as well. And as we see here, there's very much a development of what happens on a human level gets affirmed on a divine level through the personage of Jehovah. In other words, this process here that we've outlined, or that Ruth outlines here, is something that Jehovah affirms and establishes within us. And if we don't do it, it's punishment, and if we do it, the Lord helps us along. So we can take this verb right here, ya'az, in numerous ways. He will do evil to us if we don't fulfill. He will do good for us if we do fulfill. And the Lord, but what we're basically stating is here, Lord participates in the process. Jehovah is there, and to see it, if we're not faithful, boom, we suffer the consequences. If we are faithful, the Lord stands with us and helps it happen, makes it go forward. And in any partnership, be it between daughter-in-law and a mother-in-law, bride, groom, bride, Jehovah has to be part of the formula. And this is what we see here. And he makes us join, and when we try to and make sure that things carry through all the way to Hamavet, all the way to death. Marriage, living with a mother-in-law, or living with a bride or a groom, is something that requires long-term commitment, requires involvement with Jehovah all along through the whole process. and the Lord stays with us through the whole thing. This is something really that we can look forward to and live our lives really in such a way that Jehovah really stays part of the formula. So if you are going to preach a sermon for a wedding, or if you're going to participate in a wedding, or if you have children that are going to be in a wedding, look to this kind of commitment. It stood Ruth in good standing, and good. It was a good thing for Ruth. It was a good thing for her family. It was a good thing for her relationship with Boaz. It was a good thing for the society and the life of God's people in Bethlehem. The women that are in the 7 women that are in the first chapter of Matthew, that we're talking about Tamar, Rahab, Ruth, Bathsheba, Mary. Their family situations when they started were chaos, but stability came in, and wow, the Lord has made it happen. And so these people in their lives, in many good ways and diverse ways, came to establishing a family. And it only happened because it was the will of Jehovah. So open your hearts to the direction of Jehovah, and especially in these kind of relationships that are so important, relationships that establish the strength of our families. So God bless and God strengthen you in this day, and may God certainly direct your paths as you enter into the commitments that will result in family and result in long-term stability to the family, to our society, to God's people. May God bless and God strengthen you until the next time.